Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Shit's Hard. I'm your host, Amber, and today we're going to be talking about morality. This is a good one because I feel like this has for some reason been relevant to me lately. We're going to be talking about motives in morality, how those two things coincide. We're going to be talking about my pre and post breakup morals and ethics. So that'll be a fun one to go over. For some reason, this is just something I've been reflecting on lately. So bear with me. We're also going to be talking about people who don't work on themselves. Ew. That's the note that I wrote next to that. I wrote ew next to it. But all right, so let's get into it. Kind of where my head's at, what I've been thinking about in terms of morality after this breakup for whatever reason. I guess my question is what motivates you to be a better person? And the reason that I've been thinking about that is because I felt like to an extent after this breakup, I've been not a worse person, but to kind of just be I don't know, I've been less morally inclined to be good than I did before. And I've noticed this about myself because I was misbehaving. Not really, but I don't know. I was talking to one of my friends about something kind of a moral, ethical dilemma. And they were you would have felt differently about this before the breakup. And I was interesting. And they just were if the roles were reversed, you would be telling me to not do that. So I thought that was an interesting point because they were absolutely right. They were 100% right. I definitely pre-breakup would have been the fuck are you doing? And so that's just something I want to talk about is what motivates you to be a good person or to be ethical? Because I think to an extent I was motivated by being a better partner. I was motivated by being Corbin's girlfriend and being a better life partner, a better to one day, be a better spouse. And I don't have that motivation anymore. And so do I not care anymore? I don't know. Obviously I do care. And I'm glad my friends called me out on that shit because it's so important to have friends who call you out on your shit. We're going to get into that one in a minute, but let's start here. So for me, it's I want to ask you guys what motivates you to be a good person and kind of why. And is it being a parent, being a better mother one day, being a spouse, being a better brother, sister, whatever. And I don't know. I don't think it's bad to have those things as a motivation. But obviously, yeah, now that my relationship's over, it's well, do I not care anymore or do I not care as much? Why is it so external? Why don't we have this motivation to be morally good for ourselves, I guess? I don't know. I mean, I think I do to an extent have that, but I definitely had more of a drive to be a better partner, be a better, it was in my mind, I want to be a better communicator so that I can be a better partner. Be I don't know, just not even a better person morally, but yeah, a better communicator, better skill set, that kind of thing, so that I can be a better partner. And if I work on myself, working on myself was in turn going to make me a better partner and also get me a better partner. So I don't know, I felt I was able to see the good and the bad, and now I don't anymore. So I don't know. Definitely let me know how you guys fucking feel about that one, because it's just been weird thinking about that, because I didn't think that about myself at all. Before the breakup, I would not have been oh, I'm only a good person morally or ethically because I'm in a relationship and I want to be a good partner. I didn't think that about myself at all. And I don't think that about myself now, but it's just to an extent, like I said, when my friend called me out and she was what the fuck? What are you doing? So yeah, I don't know. Was I only motivated to be good for Corbin? I don't know. Or yeah, I think other people, it's being young, you think about your life. Obviously, to an extent, you think about your future. And I obviously being an anxious person, and if you've been listening, you would know I've always been thinking ahead since I was fucking born. And so I think that is what drew that out of me was oh, I've always wanted to be a wife, and I definitely always want to get married. That's something that I definitely want to do. I love the idea of being a life partner. That's for sure in the cards for me. I want to get married. And So that was like a motivating factor of like, if I work on myself, I'll get that in like a happy, healthy way, because there's a ton of people who are married and like not happy or healthy. So that's, I guess, like a goal or like a drive for me. Interestingly enough, though, I've never really thought about it in terms of being a parent. Like I've never thought like, oh, I should work on myself so that one day I can be like a good mother. I've never thought that. But I could see how other people like my age would like think about like, oh, in the future, I want to be, good to my kids and that kind of thing. But for some reason, I don't have that. I don't know why. Interesting. Something that I'm working on though, or thinking about, just conscious of. But let's talk about friends, because I think this is a good one, is like, you need the fucking friends who call you out, like for fucking sure. I feel like there's a lot of people, I don't know if I'm like good at like, hold on, just let me grab my thoughts here. I think like when I meet people, I tend to like evaluate them pretty quickly and get a read on them. And for some reason, I tend to like evaluate them like morally and ethically. And not for some reason. I guess it's because I take pretty seriously the people that I keep in my circle. Because I like think very highly of myself. I hold myself to a high standard. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to, like I'm very career driven and like, morally and ethically driven. Like I want to be a better person. I actively work on myself. So I want to surround myself with those kind of people. And so when I meet someone new, I'm like, for some reason, like, I don't know why I'm saying for some reason. When I meet someone new, I'm like thinking about that in the back of my head. And I'm kind of like evaluating, like, is this someone who's like on my level of like working on themselves, like as a person or their career, or like, are they working on something? Are they driven at all? And it's funny because I definitely feel like I can like think of a few people off the top of my head who I've like met and I interact with often. And I know like I'll never be close to them because they're someone who like, just like, they just don't like give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like they just like aren't actively like thinking about how they can be better. And this is such an interesting conversation to have because I was talking to one of my friends the other day about this, about like, just like reflecting on yourself and like always wanting to like do the right thing. And him and I were both talking about how like we're pretty anxious people too, mind you. So like keep that in mind. But we were both talking about how like we both like, usually when we have like a falling out or a confrontation or a problem with somebody or like an ending of a relationship or whatever, we like, hold on. Thank you. If you just said bless you. Okay, anyways. We were talking about how like if we go through any of those things that we will usually reflect on the situation. Not only will we evaluate the other person and see like, what we did like, what we didn't like, whatever, but we'll also reflect on ourselves and try to think about like what we did wrong so that we can grow and move past it and not do that to them again or someone else again. And we kind of were talking about how other people aren't always like this. And not that was like a revelation to me or anything. Obviously, I know not everybody gives a fuck about like being a better person and all that kind of stuff. But like this, the breakup is a great example, but that's not like the only thing that I mean. But it's something that I'm reflecting on and I'm thinking about like what I did and didn't like from him. And then I'm also thinking about like things that I definitely did wrong or contributed to. And I probably should work on myself coming out of this. And like, same thing is to say on a smaller scale, like not even just like a relationship ending, but just like a confrontation with a friend or like, your friend comes to you and is like, hey, you did this and upset me. Like I take it pretty seriously to like look at myself in the mirror and like evaluate and like, did you do the wrong or right thing here? And this is like an annoying thing because I would consider myself extremely self-aware, hyper self-aware. And that's not like a flex. That's not like in a good way. Like that I think drives a lot of my anxieties because I'm like very aware of myself and the things that I do. And like, I'm very like morally aware of like what's right and wrong. So like oftentimes if I do the wrong thing, I knew it was wrong before I did it. I just was like, the right thing seems hard to do right now. But anyways, so what was I talking about? Fucking friends. So I think it's like I love this friend of mine I'm talking about because we have like such good in-depth conversations like this and we do it with each other. We like evaluate like, what we're doing right and wrong. But I think that it's so important to surround yourself with people who are willing to call you out on your shit. Like seriously, if one of your friends is willing to look at you and be like, hey, I think you're acting out of line, keep that motherfucker in your life, like for fucking sure. If you want to level up and consistently becoming like, be like consistently be a better version of yourself day in and day out. Surround yourself with people who, one, are working on themselves, but for two, are also willing to help you work on yourself, which is call you out on your shit. And I think like the type of person that I am is I can be like a little bit like, I don't want to say abrasive. I don't want to say intimidating either, but like I can see like a little bit, I think I can seem a little bit like confident. And in some ways I am, some ways I'm really not. But I do think it deaders some people who are close to me or maybe new to me to confront me with stuff because they kind of have this, not like fear of me, but like, you know, confrontation is hard. Like it is. Like any way you look at it, it's hard for me. This is something that I've been reflecting on lately as well. It's like I have been like trying to be more not confrontational, but like handle my shit. Like I said, like if I have a problem with a friend, I try to bring it up to them, but I don't always do that. But I'm hyper self-aware and I know that the right thing to do is bring it up to them and talk it out and have a healthy conversation about it so that you can move past it. The answer is not to brush it under the rug and pretend it didn't happen. And also people can't read your mind. They don't know what they don't know. So I don't think it's like fair to, unless someone like knows you're mad, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's not fair to assume that somebody knows you're upset with them. But that's something that I swear by is like, don't fucking sweep it under the rug, like talk shit out. But sometimes when it comes down to it, if I can like skedaddle by in a relationship, a friendship or whatever, and not bring shit up, I won't, because I still find it very fucking difficult to have like confrontation or just to say to somebody like, you upset me when you did this. And for me, it's not even a fear of them like walking out of my life or anything. I think for me, it's like a fear of them not giving a fuck. Like, I don't know. I don't fear someone getting mad at me back. I guess it's actually just really fucking awkward. If you've ever like confronted somebody and been like, hey, when you did this, it upset me. Somebody that you care about and you care about fixing the problem, it's really fucking awkward. It's just like, I don't know. I find it difficult. That's also something that I'm working on. But I think that's why I find it so respectable when my friends will come to me. I just had this happen since I've been at this new job and I've got these new friends. Like I haven't been friends with them for a long time yet. And so like just a couple, like maybe a month or so ago, I had like that first, you know what I mean? Like it's always coming, you know what I mean? You're never going to get along with somebody 100% of the time. And so I had that first situation where one of my close friends had said like, hey, like when you did this, it upset me. I don't deserve to be treated that way, whatever. And I hated it. It was so uncomfortable. I was like, oh, fuck, like I don't like this. But I was able to like take a step back, conceptualize, like for one, this person values our friendship because they're willing to say, hey, something happened that I didn't like and I want to fix it because I want us to have a good, cool, healthy relationship. And two, this person also cares about me enough and knows that I want to be a better person enough to say like, to call me out on my shit and say, hey, like this didn't make me feel great when you do that. You're better than that. You know, you can do better, which is also really cool. Like the whole thing's super fucking awkward and uncomfortable. But like, it's always the right thing to do. You'll always feel better after it too. So that's what I'm feeling a little bit grateful for lately for sure is like, I don't know, friends who are also on that leveling up journey of like trying to be better people. The ones that'll call you out on your shit, just like, keep them around. I feel like I have a lot of them too. I don't know why from a very young age, I feel like I had friends who were like that. So it got me comfortable with that on a smaller scale. Like it got me comfortable calling my friends out a little bit of like, I don't know. I feel like growing up, my friends and I were more comfortable calling each other out on like your shit that you did wrong to other people, if that makes sense. So like, I've always been comfortable with that. Like if my friend is doing something that's like, it's out of line, it's wrong, it's just straight up wrong. I don't know why, but I'm really good at and comfortable saying like, hey, like I think you're in the wrong here. Like if they're telling me a story about them and their other friend, I can very easily be like, dude, you're out of line. Like you definitely shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't whatever. And I don't know, I have an easy time with that one. It's much harder when it's about you, you know? Like it's so much harder to be like, you upset me, because that's like more personal. But yeah, people who don't want to work on themselves, steer clear. Like, I don't know why, but I've gotten good at this as I've gotten a little bit older. You know, like when you're in high school and you have like a ton of friends and like, you know, you get to college and like, you know, half of those friends like weren't your real friends or whatever. Like, I don't know, not like they weren't your real friends, but like, just as you grow up, the circle gets smaller for good, like for the better, for sure. Like If your friend group is still fucking huge, those aren't your real friends probably. So yeah, the circle should get smaller and tighter and closer, and which is always a good thing. But I feel like as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at like pinpointing and picking out like when I first meet someone, I'm kind of thinking about like how they treat the people that are close to them, how they talk about the other people in their life, how they, if I meet someone and they're in a relationship, how they talk about their partner is like a pretty good indicator of like what kind of person that is in their character. You know what I mean? How they talk about, their friends, how they treat their friends, are they like super gossipy about their friends? Are they super like, or are they like really like encouraging and like supportive? And they're like, oh, they're so good at this and they're so good at that. You know what I mean? Like, that's a pretty good indicator of character. And I feel like that can help you pretty quickly decipher, like, is this someone that you want to get close to? Because so many times I feel like I do hear a lot of people are like, have lost like close friends to them that, or maybe people that they thought they were really good friends with and they weren't. For some reason, I haven't struggled with that one. I feel like I haven't had a lot of friend breakups, luckily. And I genuinely, and I feel like this is just because I've gotten super, super lucky. I have some really, really good friends in my life. And I always have from like a young age, which is like weird and super grateful for again. Like part of me feels like it's like random, but I do think also to an extent, you attract the energy that you bring in. You know what I mean? So if you look at your friend group and you're like, these are some really, really good people, odds are you are a really good person too. And you surround yourself with the same thing, because I think I might have said this in the last episode, I can't remember, but like the people that you surround yourself with are influencing you positively or negatively, but they are. And there's no in between. Like, so if you have friends who are like super, super driven, motivated, and ambitious, and you are too, odds are you're going to be pretty successful together. You're going to be able to lean on each other. You're going to be understanding of each other. And you're going to push each other and motivate each other to be better, whether that's like career-wise, morally, ethically, whatever the fuck. But if you have friends who like kind of have like some pretty poor habits, and maybe they treat people pretty poorly, or maybe they're not super ambitious, odds are you'll probably end up the same way. I'm not saying like you are your fucking friends. And that's not what I'm saying at all. Obviously you are your own individual person, but you should be selective with the people that you spend your time with. Kind of like, I mentioned in the last episode with your family, same thing. They're all influencing you. It's just like the things, I've been thinking about this lately too. The things that you do daily are also impacting your life positively or negatively. There's like no in between. Like if you do anything daily, I mean like every single fucking day you do this, whether that's like, I don't know, like brushing your fucking teeth, we do that every day. That's either impacting your life, your health, positively or negatively. Obviously, if you brush your teeth every day, positively. But if you smoke a cigarette every day, negatively. Like there's nothing you can do every day, I don't think, that just has like a neutral effect. And the same thing goes for your friends, like especially if you spend a lot of time with them and you like are around them all the time, you hang out with them, you take advice from them, I think then for sure, like they're either adding value or they're subtracting. They're either dragging you down or they're lifting you up. So that's something that I've been aware of lately, obviously, because throughout the breakup, I've been leaning on my friends a little bit more lately than usual. And feeling super grateful for it, of course, because I have a ton of good friends, even like not even in California, but just like now back in the Midwest. And even still, like from the other side of the country, they're super supportive and great people who like have good advice and are for sure there for me. And I don't know. One thing that I'm like evaluating is like, fuck, like I wish I lived where they lived, And like, it's such a weird thing too, like that nostalgia of like, remember when like that person was like a 10-minute drive away and now they're like literally a 4-hour flight. That kind of sucks. But anyways, that's not the topic of today. But yeah, fucking morality and motives, what motivates you to be good. And, it could be your friends too. It could be like, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing to have that motivating factor of other people. I guess it just feels like a little like reliant for me. It feels like, are we then relying on other people to be good instead of just wanting to be good for yourself? I don't know. I mean, I went to Catholic school for 9 years, and a lot of people have motivation for morality coming from religion. They either want to get to hell or want to get to heaven. And I don't know why I said want to get to hell. Like no one wants to fucking get to hell. Well, okay. Anyways, at least I make myself laugh. But yeah, so I guess like some people have like that religious motivation for morality, which I didn't even think of until just now. That's interesting too. Because I feel like that was taught in school, like being in Catholic school was for sure like, you be good. And then I don't know, I just thought of this Friends episode where like they're arguing, Phoebe is arguing about being a good person and she's arguing with, I can't remember fucking who, probably Ross. Or maybe, I don't know who it was. But she's basically talking about how you should do good things because they make you feel good. I think it was Joey, which is ironic because it's like a deep conversation and whatever. But he was basically arguing that there's no selfless deeds. There's no selfless acts. If you're doing something good for someone else to make yourself feel good, that's inherently selfish because you're doing it for yourself. Such like an interesting fucking like stupid like moral dilemma like thing to talk about. Not like it really fucking matters. And does your motivation really matter? I guess not. I guess if you're like being a good person, maybe your motivation really doesn't matter. Because if you're doing it to fill your own cup, at least you're doing it. If you're doing it to be a better partner, at least you're doing it. But I guess my thought process is like, if you're always doing it for another person or another reason and that person is taken away from you, then do you lose that motivation? But I guess if you're like religious, then you can't really lose that unless you choose not to, which is also possible too. Like, I guess if you're only morally a good person because you're religious and then you decide you're not religious, maybe you don't give a fuck anymore and you're like, we're all going to die at the end of this. So who gives a fuck? I'm not being nice. I don't know. Let me know what you think on this one, though, because I've kind of like spiraled into an interesting direction that I kind of wasn't planning on taking it. But yeah, let me know if you think your motivation for being morally, ethically good matters or not. And what's yours? Like, what is yours? Is it religion? Is it other people? Is it yourself? Like, I'm curious if anyone out there feels like, no, I genuinely want to be a good person for me. And just like, so I can feel good about, which also kind of makes sense though. I get that one too, as being someone who's pretty hyper self-aware. I'm like very aware of the choices that I make and how they affect other people and myself. And like if I were to do something wrong, I think I said this earlier, like before, if I do something wrong, usually for the most part, before I did it, I knew it was wrong. It's just the easy thing was like hard to do, but I have already considered the factors of doing that thing and like how it's going to affect me. And like some things I will specifically do the morally right thing to do because I don't want the guilt to eat me later. If that makes any fucking sense at all. Like, I know that I don't know. It's like, I know I'll feel bad about it later and I don't want to deal with that either. So it's like, fine, I'll just do the fucking right thing to do. So I guess if like you feel like that, if you feel like, no, I do morally good things because I don't want to like feel the guilt and shame of like hurting other people, then that's fair too. Or maybe you're like, no, I do good things because of other people because I wanted people to feel good. But then it's like, I don't know. You should do things for you too. Because at the end of the day, we all know my fucking life motto that this whole podcast for fucking sure is like, be more selfish, do things for you. At the end of the day, that's all you got. So that's what I've been thinking about lately. So the shit we're working on this week is I guess like maybe being a better person morally and ethically for myself. Reason I say that is because I'm not in a relationship anymore. And so I don't know, like when I had that person who I took really seriously and I genuinely was like thinking about like, spending the rest of my life with this person, like definitely there was not a doubt in my mind that I was like feeling that way. And so it was a pretty big motivator to like be a better person, a better girlfriend, a better spouse to him. Every single thing that I've ever like argument, confrontation, whatever that I did with Corbin, I like meticulously thought of like, how do I do this in the healthiest way possible? Even the fucking breakup was like a very, very healthy because I really respect him. I mean, I love him. I want to treat him well. I want to respect the relationship. So, I like specifically did everything right. And I also think if I wouldn't have, again, the guilt would have eaten me if I would have like burned that bridge. So, I don't know. It's not like I don't feel like I'm being a good person right now, but I definitely had that as a factor of like, I want to, be a better communicator, be better at confrontation, be better at like talking about the hard stuff for him. And I guess like, yeah, I mean, I still do think like I'm going to get married one day. So like, I guess that can still be a motivating factor. Even if you're single is like, okay, if one day I'm going to be a life partner to somebody, then I can work on this. Or yeah, I guess if you're not a parent yet, you can still think about like, oh, I want to be a good parent one day. So I'll work on this, So that's what I'm working on. Being a better person for myself, thinking about me, and the answer is always be more selfish. It simply always is. Okay, be more fucking selfish. Do things for you. And I'm going to add this one in also. It's going to be shit that I'm wondering this week. And then I'm going to go over the fucking questions that I want you to answer, which is going to be, are you actively trying to be a better version of yourself? Let me know. Maybe it's no. Maybe you're like, no, I'm good. This is as good as I get. And this is I've peaked. Now I've plateaued. I'm already out of my prime. And I guess, yeah. And also like, what's your motivation like behind that? If you are working on yourself, what's your motivation to be a good person? Let me know. That's what I'm fucking wondering this week. But other than that, that's what I got for you. So thanks again for joining me on this episode of Shit's Hard. I'm your host, Amber. If you want to hear more from me on Instagram, TikTok, my @are Amber Meisner with 2 R's. And I'll see you in the next one, because this shit is hard.